The story begins with a man named Feng, who was not only jaw-droppingly handsome and irresistibly attractive, but also happened to be the top fashion designer in the industry, which basically meant he was rolling in money. Beijing then entered the female lead, Wang Yi, whose father was even richer than Feng. Wang Yi began questioning Feng about how he could do such a thing, because she was supposedly his first love, yet he was planning to marry her stepsister. Just when she leaned in for a dramatic kiss, Feng stopped her, but Wang Yi was adamant, so she tried to kiss him again, and this time he grabbed her and kissed her. After this unexpected chaos, Wang Yi ended up knocking Feng out, though not with charm, but with some mysterious sleepy time ointment on her hand. They were now in the bedroom, where Wang Yi cheerfully thanked Feng for a great night, and he too admitted he enjoyed it. Which, of course, meant Feng was also into Wang Yi now. But just when things seemed spicy, it turned out this was all part of a novel being read by a girl sitting in a car. This girl, while scrolling through social media for updates, commented that the story was ridiculously interesting. She also noticed something strange. Her name was the same as the novel's villain. At that moment, another girl stepped into the car. It was the writer of the novel. Hearing everything, the writer realized the girl was reading her story and decided to hide the upcoming twists. Meanwhile, the weather outside was showing its full villain arc with heavy rain, and the car faced a massive accident. After the accident, Wang Yi somehow got sucked into the novel's world, with her outfit suddenly changed like she was in a budget-friendly version of Narnia. She stood there confused, wondering what was going on, where she was, and how her clothes changed without a fitting session. Feng then called her outside, and as she stepped out, she found herself standing in front of a luxury mansion. Feng picked her up and casually dropped a bombshell that she was going to be a mom, so she should avoid wearing high heels. At this, Wang Yi practically short-circuited. She hadn't even gotten married, didn't know this man well, and was now being labeled a future mom by someone who looked like a walking, talking character from her favorite Wattpad story. Feng then dragged her into the house where her so-called parents were waiting. Wang Yi looked around utterly baffled and started interrogating everyone. She demanded to know who they were, why they brought her there, and whether they were kidnapping her, adding that if it was for ransom, joke's on them, because she was flat broke. She attempted to run but failed, as she realized she was now trapped inside the novel world, unable to leave unless the author allowed it. One woman then mentioned that her daughter Lucy had locked herself up after finding out about an affair. Wang Yi, still dazed, asked who Lucy even was. Her father scolded her, wondering if pregnancy had already scrambled her memory, since she couldn't even remember her own sister. Things got even more real when her stepmother called her father by name, finally helping Wang Yi connect the dots. This was no prank. She had fully entered the novel. The man was her father, the woman her stepmother, and Feng was the main male lead. Processing all this, she grabbed her phone and desperately began reading the next part of the novel. The story continued from the bedroom scene, leading to Feng meeting Lucy and wondering why he should marry her at all. The scene shifted to Feng and Lucy on stage about to announce their wedding date, but just then, Wang Yi barged in with a plot twist, declaring that the wedding couldn't happen because Feng was going to be a father and the baby was hers. The audience went into total shock. Wang Yi expected Feng to be stunned too, but instead, he lit up like he'd won a game show and said he was ready to take responsibility. Then, right in front of the media, he officially announced that he wouldn't marry Lucy, but Wang Yi instead. After reading the entire story, Wang Yi finally figured out why everyone around her was convinced she was pregnant. Back in the present, Wang Yi tried explaining to Feng that she wasn't pregnant, had no intention of marrying him, and didn't belong to this novel universe. But Feng ignored all logic and walked down the door that Wang Yi couldn't follow. Thinking maybe there was a secret door like in Harry Potter, she ran into the wall and, not so magically, knocked herself out cold. The next day, she woke up and reassured herself that she couldn't be pregnant. When an assistant entered the room, she quickly asked him to bring a pregnancy test kit. On the flip side, Feng and his assistant were chatting, revealing that Feng was only marrying Wang Yi for money and had ditched Lucy for that very reason. Feng, being extra, asked what type of guy Wang Yi liked. The assistant said she liked muscular men, so naturally, Feng put on a muscle suit and showed up at her house looking like a walking protein shake. Meanwhile, Wang Yi's stepmother scolded Lucy for not being able to hold on to even one guy. Lucy, done with the drama, told her mother she wasn't like her. She hadn't tricked someone's rich grandpa into marriage. She wanted to stand on her own 2 feet and stormed out like a feminist firecracker. Frustrated, the stepmother left her pregnancy test kit in the bathroom, wishing for a son in the family. Wangi, who entered afterward, accidentally dropped her own test kit and picked up her stepmother's instead. When Wangi saw the result was positive, she panicked like someone who accidentally replied yes to a wedding RSVP. She ran away in horror. Meanwhile, the stepmother found Wangi's kit with a negative result and became upset. Then she saw her stepsister Lucy, who looked exactly like the girl who had written the novel and had sat with her in the car during the rainstorm. Wangi lit up with joy. Finally, someone else from the real world was here. She was no longer alone in this literary madness. Lucy was completely confused by what Wangi was saying, so Wangi patiently began explaining everything to her and even handed her a file, one that supposedly contained the truth about Wangi's real world. But in classic magical chaos, the file suddenly transformed into a pregnancy report, leaving Lucy staring. She even questioned if she was proud that she was pregnant before marriage, which, according to them, wasn't exactly something to post proudly on social media. At that moment, Feng made a heroic entrance, announcing that being the mother of his child was absolutely a thing to be proud of. And just to add cherry to the awkwardness sundae, he started showing off his abs like it was an Instagram reel gone rogue. Both sisters were left speechless and possibly considering switching dimensions. Wangi stormed off, with Feng following her while talking about business like nothing just happened. But when Feng mentioned Lucy's name, Wangi suddenly realized that Lucy was none other than the main protagonist of this novel. Wangi then cleverly asked both of them to squeeze into a strange button portal for some fresh air, which she claimed was healthy for her imaginary baby. Feng agreed and picked her up to carry her to the car. Inside, Wangi said this whole situation reminded her of the time she entered Naval World. But oddly, nothing strange was happening now. She noticed a suspicious-looking wall and felt that maybe this was the secret exit to her real world. Lucy, finding all this talk totally ridiculous, decided to leave. Wangi thought about following, but worried about breaking her nose if the wall turned out to be just a wall. So, naturally, she decided to test the theory on Feng first. In the next scene, Feng was fuming with rage, but quickly calmed himself down, thinking that he could endure all this madness for the sake of money. Wangi was still plotting her escape when Feng appeared again, ruining her mood entirely. She tried to go upstairs, but couldn't because someone was in the middle of writing Naval's next chapter. Wangi ended up falling from above after reciting half a novel's worth of dramatic lines. She teased him, saying she clearly likes muscular guys and couldn't control herself around him even though his body was fake. Feng took it like a champ, removed the Feng layer, and said his real body wasn't too bad either. Unfortunately, Wangi couldn't admire the goods because writer permissions in Naval's world were apparently stricter than airport security. Just then, Wangi's grandfather arrived with a doctor, who checked her and announced that she was not at all pregnant. Everyone gasped in shock, except Wangi, who looked like she just won a quiz show. She suggested that Feng and Lucy should get married instead, but Grandpa quickly refused, revealing that Feng actually liked Wangi and that the two shared mutual feelings. He also declared in front of everyone that Wangi owned the majority of the shares thanks to her real mom's will. Wangi nearly fainted from happiness and asked if this meant she was now filthy rich. After Grandpa left, Feng ran up to her and sweetly said he'd still marry her and take care of her, even if she wasn't pregnant. But Wangi rejected him instantly, proudly declaring that since she was rich and unpregnant, she didn't see the point of marrying him, especially since she barely even knew him. Somewhere in the corner, Feng's ego packed a suitcase and quietly left the building. Feng tried to remind Lucy too that she used to like him, but Lucy coldly said that was in the past. In the present, she wanted to focus on her business and nothing else. Then she walked away, leaving Feng looking like a rejected contestant from a reality show. Night fell, and Wangi's inner narrator reminded her that if the hero and heroine didn't end up together, the story would never finish. So she decided that bringing Feng and Lucy together was her key to returning home. The next day, Feng stood outside Wangi's house with his secretary, determined to win her over. He thought that if the media ever found out he was dumped by 2 girls, his entire career would become a joke. Inside the house, Wangi was stressing about managing both Feng and Lucy without ending up in a soap opera. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach, but ended up falling in himself. Feng's assistant rushed to the rescue, saving the poor guy from turning into soggy assistant soup. Wang Yi, meanwhile, was on her way to the washroom when Feng grabbed her for a serious talk. She asked him to let her go, but he held her back. In the chaos, Feng fainted and plunged straight into the pool. When he was changing his shirt, he found a file announcing a party Lucy's grandmother was throwing in her honor for becoming the richest family member. When Wang Yi entered and told him to leave, Feng stepped closer and questioned why she used to chase him for marriage, but now rejected him when he was ready. Wang Yi explained that everything in the past was just that, the past. In the present, she wasn't interested in him at all and asked him to go back to Lucy, his original heroine. She believed that unless the hero and heroine came together, she wouldn't be able to exit this fantasy world. While Feng was still trying to process her words, Wang Yi's stepmother arrived to take him to Lucy. Feng panicked and hid with Wang Yi inside the house, where she refused to eat anything. Meanwhile, Feng's assistant was busy wrapping bandages on Wang Yi's assistant when he casually mentioned that Wang Yi was going to receive a large number of shares very soon. According to him, that meant she might end up giving Feng a portion too. On hearing this, the assistant couldn't hold back and cheekily asked if those shares would be shared with him too. Clearly irritated, Wang Yi's assistant wasted no time and showed the way out to the overexcited assistant, telling him to follow the path and quietly disappear. Once outside, Feng made it clear to his assistant that no matter what, he had to crash Wang Yi's party. To make this possible, he struck a deal with Wang Yi's sister. She would take him to the party, and in return, he would help her with her business. Lucy agreed, thinking it was a decent trade. Just then, the camera panned to outside, where some paparazzi were busy clicking pictures. These weren't random stalkers, though. Wang Yi herself had called them. Lucy somehow left the scene. Wang Yi came running toward Feng, visibly annoyed, and started grilling him, wondering if he had lost his mind. She pointed out that he should have at least dropped Lucy home and then added a brutal insult. He was a horribly useless hero. Feng, unfazed and rather chill, asked why he should go after Lucy when his interest was clearly in Wang Yi. Then, as if rehearsing for a TV serial, he gave Wang Yi a rose and walked away dramatically. Wang Yi, of course, followed him, and an intense argument broke out between them. She tried to make him understand that she wasn't the heroine, Lucy was. He showed his VIP pass and strolled into the bar, while Wang Yi was left struggling with the bouncers who refused to let her in without a pass. She screamed that she was a family member, a friend, Wang Yi herself, but the bodyguards were built like emotionless robots. That's when a guy approached her and claimed he could help her get in if she came aside for a private conversation first. Trusting him a little too quickly, Wang Yi followed, only for him to knock her out and carry her away like she was a sack of potatoes. Meanwhile, Feng, who was sitting inside the club stressing over why Wang Yi still wasn't there, finally stepped out and asked the guards about her. They told him some guy took her aside. The kidnapper took Wang Yi to a quiet place, where his mother was also present. As their conversations unfolded, it became clear that someone had actually ordered them to eliminate Wang Yi. Their bright idea is to throw her into water and hope she wouldn't swim. But Wang Yi opened her eyes the next morning, safe and sound in her own room. Her assistant informed her that Feng had brought her back. This meant that Feng managed to track down the exact place she was being held, and even found her shoes at the scene. He had jumped into the water, found Wang Yi, and rescued her. When Wang Yi woke up, she started talking to herself, saying how weird Feng was. He was supposed to be her sister's hero, yet he was always hovering around her. She wondered aloud if maybe he was actually her own hero, and Lucy's real knight in shining armor hadn't even entered the novel yet. She decided she'd stick with Feng from now on because he came with a solid security package, plenty of bodyguards. Next, Wang Yi and Lucy were at a shopping mall when someone suddenly snatched Lucy's bag and ran. Normally, Wang Yi wasn't the action hero type, but the writer clearly wanted a chase scene, so even without wanting to, she ran after the thief. While she was running, another mysterious character noticed the scene, got out of his car, and also followed. After a long chase, just when Wang Yi caught the thief, a bunch of his knife-wielding buddies showed up. What followed was a full-on street brawl. Wang Yi fought them all like a one-woman army, but only because the writer made her do it. She was just following the script, after all. As Lucy tried to snatch her documents back from the thief, he shoved her violently, and she went flying right into the arms of the same guy who had followed them earlier. That guy then tossed him into a dustbin. After that, he looked at Lucy as if she were made of glass. This man's name was Chain. One look at him and Wang Yi could tell he was definitely Lucy's hero. Later, they were all at Wang Yi's father's company. During the meeting, it was revealed that Wang Yi's father had called Chain for a business discussion and also wanted Wang Yi to marry him instead of Feng. Upon discovering Chain's successful background, Wang Yi's stepmother quickly changed gears and began favoring him for Lucy. She even introduced him to Lucy. But Wang Yi sneakily pushed Lucy toward Chain, forcing a physical closeness. Lucy blushed and shyly walked away. The next scene showed that it was the day Wang Yi was going to receive her shares, and a grand party was thrown in celebration. But Wang Yi noticed something strange. Her stepmother was meeting with the same man who kidnapped her. Realization struck her stepmother wanted her dead. Before she could act, she was called on stage. Meanwhile, Feng entered with dramatic gunfire, intending to propose to her publicly on stage, knowing she wouldn't be able to reject him in front of everyone. But Wang Yi had her own drama queued up. On stage, she boldly told the media that she wasn't as rich as everyone thought. She'd spent all her shares on helping the poor, funding education, animal care, and assisting people in need. Now, she had nothing left. She was just a regular human being like everyone else, and requested no one kidnap or harm her, thinking she was rich. Hearing this, Feng's dreams came crashing down. He silently walked away, thinking if she had nothing now, then what was even the point of marrying her? But Wang Yi pulled him on stage and confidently told him that since he brought the ring, he might as well put it on her finger too. The poor guy stood silently, while the assistant whispered from the side that his share of the reward would come in easy installments because Miss Wang Yi had already blown through the current payment like a shopping addict in a mall with no limits. With everyone cheering for the couple to tie the knot, Feng found himself helpless. Eventually, he got a marriage certificate with Wang Yi, and just like that, they officially became husband and wife. Back at home, Feng was muttering to himself that all his effort went down the drain. Not only did he not get a single penny, but now he was also stuck with this woman who clung to him. On the other hand, Wang Yi was celebrating like she just won a luxury raffle. She roamed around the Feng house calling it grand and luxurious, and declared herself its queen. When Feng asked why she wanted to live in this setup, Wang Yi said it was all because the audience demanded it. Feng warned her not to regret it later, but Wang Yi, ever the schemer, suggested they sign a contract that clearly stated neither of them would interfere in each other's lives or try to get romantically close. She declared she would now live in this room, and Feng had no choice but to accept her condition. After all, if her grandfather found out that his fragile little flower of a granddaughter was sleeping in the guest room like a temporary tenant, it could seriously damage Feng's business ties. Later, Feng's assistant was irritated when Wang Yi's assistant arrived with bags and an attitude, claiming he would stay wherever his mistress stayed. Feng initially protested, but when his own assistant offered to share his room with the guy, he reluctantly agreed. Wang Yi, never missing a chance to stir the pot, asked why Feng didn't want her assistant in the house. Feng leaned in and made it clear that letting her stay was already a massive act of charity, and she shouldn't try to act smart in front of him. That night, the assistant was suffering because Wang Yi's assistant snored like a chainsaw trying to rap beatbox. Meanwhile, in Feng's room, things weren't any better. Wang Yi smacked his hand in her sleep and then bit him as if dreaming she was judging a food contest. Feng, totally done with this nonsense, left the room in the middle of the night. When Wang Yi woke up, she noticed a glass of water and medicine placed beside her bed. Instead of being thankful, she went full detective mode and wondered if Feng was trying to drug her to take over her kidneys. She locked the door in a panic and couldn't sleep again. So she walked to the kitchen to cook some noodles. The aroma wafted through the house, dragging Feng to the kitchen like a zombie. He asked her to make some for him too, but Wang Yi told him she was a selfish chef who only cooked for herself. This infuriated Feng. He stormed off, wrote a dramatic rent contract, and handed it to her, stating that since she wasn't fulfilling any wifely duties, she now had to pay rent and food bills. Wen Ji was outraged and asked how he could treat her like this. She thought of going back to her real home, but remembered that doing so could ruin her sister Lucy's love life, so she reluctantly agreed to the contract, but tried to bargain for a discount since she was his wife. When Fen refused, she grumbled that he was the worst second lead in a drama she had ever seen. Swallowing her pride, she sweetly offered to make him some noodles, only for Fen to reject her again, but after she left, Fen sneakily tasted the noodles and was surprised to find they were actually good enough to sell on food delivery apps. In the next scene, Wang Yi checked her bank account and saw it was as dry as a desert. She had donated all her money. When she asked her assistant about her pending payment, he told her it would take 3 months. Disappointed, Wang Yi suddenly got a brainwave that could power a city. She began cleaning the house like a possessed broomstick, although her efforts created more mess than order. Still, she even cooked a grand dinner for Feng. But Feng got suspicious and assumed she poisoned it, so he made his assistant test it like a royal food taster. He then requested the noodles she cooked for herself, clearly thinking her personal food stash was safer. Wang Yi made her dramatic entrance with theme music that sounded like it belonged in a villain's intro. Feng cringed. If her cooking didn't knock them out, her background music surely would. Even the assistant was silently wondering what this woman wanted in life. Wang Yi asked if dinner was over and then casually demanded payment for cooking, cleaning, and of course her private musical concert. Feng told her he never asked for any of that. He said he already had housekeepers and didn't need extras, and he refused to pay but gave her an option. He would cancel a month's rent if she went with him to Lucy's birthday party. Wang Yi, always up for drama, immediately agreed. At the party, powerful businessmen were present. Feng was networking with them like a social butterfly. When he exchanged subtle eye signals with Lucy, Wang Yi didn't like it one bit and walked away. Feng asked her to cooperate, so she reluctantly returned to his side. Meanwhile, Chain arrived, and Lucy was over the moon seeing him. She thought he was so handsome he should be cast as the lead. When Chain tried to talk to Wang Yi, Feng quickly pulled her away and announced that she was his wife. Wang Yi, however, had other plans. She wanted to pair up Chain and Lucy and walked over to Lucy to convince her that Chain was perfect for her. Lucy was confused. Her stepsister, who never treated her kindly, was now playing Cupid. Wang Yi explained that the old her was gone and now she was totally reformed. Just then, Lucy's friends showed up and Wang Yi walked away quietly. Lucy's best friend was puzzled and reminded Lucy how Wang Yi had treated her before. Lucy told her to stop and walked away. As everyone was enjoying drinks after the celebration, Lucy's best friend decided it was the perfect time to destroy Wang Yi's image. She spiked Wang Yi's drink, and after a while, Wang Yi started feeling dizzy and stepped out. The best friend sent a drunk guy after her, saying maybe she needed help. The man followed Wang Yi, and as she passed out on the sofa, Lucy's friend took inappropriate photos of her with him and locked the door. On the other hand, Feng was panicking and looking for Wang Yi, because she never gave him an answer to his question from the night before. Lucy's best friend appeared and slyly whispered that his wife had gone into a room with another guy. As soon as he heard this, Feng turned into an action hero and rushed straight to Wang Yi. He broke down the door, grabbed the guy by his collar, and to his shock, discovered it was his own cousin, who looked like he had bathed in alcohol instead of water. Realizing the misunderstanding, Feng didn't beat him up, but told him he knew it wasn't what it looked like and pleaded for a chance to explain. But Feng wasn't ready to listen and instead picked up Wang Yi and stormed off with her like a grumpy Uber driver. Unfortunately, after they reached the car, Feng started scolding her, saying she knew she couldn't handle alcohol, so why even bother drinking? He added that if he hadn't shown up on time, who knew what could have happened? Wang Yi, looking half dizzy, replied that maybe the guy wasn't trying to hurt her but was just trying to cover her legs with his shirt. She also said the drink was definitely spiked. Then when Wang Yi started vomiting, he took her out of the car for fresh air and began taking care of her. In her drunken state, Wang Yi started missing her mom and said she really wished she was with her. Feng, of course, assumed she was missing her dead mom from this world. But in reality, Wang Yi was missing her mom from her original world. That moment made Feng feel like the emotional lead of a romantic tragedy, who didn't even know which movie he was in. With full respect, he adjusted Wang Yi's dress carefully. Later, when they returned home, Wang Yi's assistant saw her condition and got worried. After scolding Feng left and right, he took Wang Yi away. Feng then went to his room and began noticing Wang Yi's behavior. That's all. He thought she had changed so much from how she used to be. She wasn't like this before at all. He wondered whether she had truly transformed, then immediately questioned himself. Why was he thinking like this? He told himself that he didn't like her, couldn't like her, and she was just a pawn in his plan to get richer and save the family business. He insisted he couldn't afford to fall in love and grow weak. But in the very next second, he was heating milk for her. After giving it to her, he saw Wang Yi's assistant nearby and quietly walked away. When Wang Yi finally regained consciousness, her assistant asked if she suspected anyone. She said Lucy couldn't possibly be behind it because why would Lucy ruin her own grand party? Then, noticing how much her assistant was caring for her, Wang Yi began wondering how he could be so loyal. She recalled how in the noble world she was a total villain. Yet this guy still cared for her. Maybe he really was the kindest soul in the multiverse. The next day, Wang Yi went to the pool and suddenly fell hard, injuring her back. Just then, Feng, not originally intending to help her, but when she needed him, he did step up. As he moved toward her, he slipped and fell into the pool too, making it less of a rescue mission and more of a synchronized dive. They both climbed out soaked, and since her back was hurt, the assistant picked her up in his arm. This moment gave Wang Yi heart palpitations, and not from the fall. She softly told the writer in her brain not to be so sweet, or else she might fall in love with him. She confessed he was hot and handsome. After bringing her into her room, he placed her on the bed. But Wang Yi, already fired up, got furious and started hitting him. He caught her hand and adjusted the pillow behind her to support her back. At that exact moment, Feng's assistant walked in, saw the two of them in this awkward position, misunderstood everything, and stormed off without letting them explain a thing. Later, Wang Yi's grandfather visited Feng's home and was overjoyed to see her. She rushed into his arms, but when Grandpa noticed how weak she looked, he stared at Feng with pure rage and asked Wang Yi if he was mistreating her. Wang Yi spilled all the tea and said yes. He made her pay rent and even food bills. Hearing that, Grandpa lost his mind, took his walking stick, and whacked Feng hard while shouting why he was torturing his flower-like granddaughter for money. Feng panicked and tried to explain that things weren't like that and begged to clarify, but Grandpa didn't let him speak and kicked him out. After things calmed down, Grandpa showed Wang Yi an important file and told her that her mom didn't die from illness. Someone murdered her. Wang Yi was shocked. Grandpa gave her names of 2 suspects and said they were the last ones seen with her mom. He instructed her to find out everything about them. Motivated, Wang Yi agreed. The suspects' names were Jackson and Ho. In the next scene, Wang Yi made food again and forced Feng and the assistant to eat it, but the food tasted so weird, both of them called it disgusting and refused. Her assistant then arrived, and Wang Yi asked him to taste it. Wanting to make her feel better, he said it was delicious. But when he tried it, he realized it actually tasted worse than cardboard soaked in cough syrup. This proved the assistant was just being nice to protect her feelings, but as soon as Wang Yi left, even he secretly spat it out. Wang Yi was now thinking about how to meet Jackson and Ho. At that moment, she got a call from Chain. Feng was outside the study room, stayed quiet and listened to Chain inviting her to a party hosted by Ho. Wang Yi was shocked. Was this the same Ho Grandpa had warned her about? Realizing it was, she immediately agreed to go. Hearing that, Feng was boiling with anger. He had already brought 2 party tickets, hoping to take Wang Yi himself. Now that she was going with Chain, he angrily tore the tickets. But when Wang Yi saw this, she asked whether Feng was jealous, but before he could say anything, she added, even if he was, she doesn't care at all. Then she left, when suddenly, Wang Yi's grandfather gave Feng a message saying he must go to the party that night, and that too with Wang Yi, so the poor Feng was told to attach those passages. As the night fell, Wang Yi was all dressed up, looking great, but despite Feng's insistence, she went with Chang instead, because he came to pick her up outside the party. At the party, Wang Yi met a new character, a very bold type of girl named Ye. But Wang Yi didn't recognize her at first. Seeing her, Ye expressed surprise and said that she went abroad for a few months, and Wang Yi forgot her best friend. On hearing this, Wang Yi suddenly remembered that yes, in the novel world, Ye was her best friend. They looked at Ho, who was telling everyone about the painting, and then Feng also arrived, but Wang Yi ignored him and walked over to talk to Ho for a bit. Ho was talking to her about the painting, and Wang Yi felt surprised, as she didn't know anything about the painting. Lisi pulled her aside and asked how she could forget the painting, considering it was her mom's favorite and tied to many memories. Wang Yi was left stunned. Later, when she was with them, she decided to leave, telling them that she would meet them in an hour at the bar, because she had something important to do. Feng knew Wang Yi was struggling, so told her that the painting was part of her mother's collection, and was very expensive, but her mom gave it to Ho because he needed it at the time. Wang Yi, on hearing this, said that was how it was and remarked that Feng seemed like a person who knew everything about everyone. Feng smiled and replied that that was just how he was. Ho then gathered everyone again and started pushing them to invest in his plan, which would supposedly bring them profit every year. Upon hearing this, the guests were ready to cut checks and give them to Ho. But then Wang Yi interrupted and warned everyone to think twice before making such a deal. The guests started to scatter and Ho became angry at Wang Yi, telling her that he didn't know she was so sharp, just like her mother, even at such a young age. Wang Yi walked off, saying this was just the beginning and that he should wait and see what happened next. On hearing this, Ho became even angrier and called his men, telling them to do something big to teach her a lesson. Meanwhile, Feng, who was watching from a distance, realized that they were planning to harm Wang Yi. At that moment, he decided he must intervene. As things moved forward, Wang Yi found herself at a bar with Feng when, suddenly, the thugs from Ho's gang tried to drop a light on her. Feng noticed just in time and pushed her aside, but surprisingly, Feng was unharmed because an unknown protection shield surrounded her. Wang Yi told Feng that she thought it was not safe for them to stay there anymore and that he should go sit in the car, saying she would be right there. But just as Wenji stepped out, she was kidnapped by Ho's men. Meanwhile, Feng told his assistant to track Wenji's phone so they could get to her quickly. They caught up to the thugs, who were dragging her to a secluded place to take advantage of her. Feng arrived just in time and somehow rescued her. As they escaped, Wang Yi started thinking how he could risk his life for her and wondered if it could be that he started liking her. But Feng didn't say anything, as he was now feeling more attached to Wang Yi than ever. He completely fell in love with her. So when they returned home, where Wang Yi was busy making noodles, Feng noticed her bending down and suddenly started feeling like she was about to kiss him. But it was only his imagination. The next day, Wang Yi was sitting in her room reading a novel that only she could see. After reading it, Wang Yi realized everything in the novel was happening exactly the way she was living her life in this world. She then started wondering why every paragraph seemed to revolve around Feng. Her brain, like an overworked detective, started making connections. In the beginning, it looked like Lucy's hero was Chain, but now, since Feng was doing all the heroic stuff, the actual hero must be Feng. This meant she unintentionally married the wrong character. She figured she now needed to bring Lucy close to Feng again, and began looking for the diagnostic contract Feng once created, the one stating that if Feng came close to Wang Yi or interfered in her life, their marriage would automatically collapse. Using this clause as her excuse, Wang Yi resumed her mission to tempt Feng. She repeatedly showed off her body like a walking billboard, hoping he'd come close, but Feng behaved like a monk in a romance drama and resisted everything. When that didn't work, Wang Yi held his hand and claimed she injured her leg, asking if he could bandage it. Feng's heart almost attempted a backflip at that, but he politely refused and walked off, telling her to bandage it herself. After seeing this, Wang Yi launched Plan B. She began laughing and talking loudly to someone on call in front of Feng, acting like she was having a romantic conversation with her boyfriend. At first, Feng felt jealous, as if someone just spoiled his favorite series, but then he stood up and walked away. Wang Yi assumed he didn't care about her at all, so she angrily started drinking. The alcohol got to her and she got drunk. She started venting to Feng, asking why he wasn't noticing her, claiming she was his wife and he should have asked who she was talking to. Feng asked her why that even mattered, saying it was her life and she could do whatever she wanted, wondering why he should interfere. Just then, Wang Yi fell on Feng, got emotional, and confessed that all of this was only to bring him close to Lucy again, but now she didn't even feel like staying away from him. When Feng checked her phone, he saw there were no call logs, and he realized she was just pretending to talk to someone. He smiled to himself. The next day, when he was busy with his work, his assistant appeared with breaking news that Wang Yi's father's company had ended the production line partnership with their company. Feng gave no reaction at that moment. But that night, while sitting in his room, he began thinking about how they could treat him like that. His blood started boiling like a pressure cooker. Meanwhile, another man was saying it was great that cracks had formed in the son-in-law and father-in-law relationship, because now they'd make good profit. But it's really not clear who this man was. Since Feng had to attend an important meeting, he was talking to someone on the phone. Wang Yi asked if she could join him, but he told her that she can't go. Just then her assistant arrived, and she told him how terrible life seemed for rich people. She said she had parents, but they didn't stay with her, a sister who hated her, and perhaps no one truly her own in the whole wide world. The assistant, like a discount philosopher, told her not to think that way and assured her he was there for her and would always stay by her side. Hearing that, Wang Yi felt better. Meanwhile, Feng, who had been eavesdropping on this emotional reality show, left without reacting. In the next scene, Feng was in his car, and his assistant asked why he didn't let Wang Yi come along. Feng explained that he had forgotten his real motive because of her, that he only wanted to focus on expanding his family business with all his energy. That was why he decided to keep as much distance as possible from Wang Yi. And then, as if the weather had been following the plot too, things started to get stormy, just like it did the day Wang Yi entered the novel world. Their car was jolted hard, and immediately the scene shifted to the real world. It was revealed that Wang Yi had not regained consciousness since her accident and was now trapped in her brain world. Several machines were attached to her head. The real Feng, her actual boyfriend, was lying beside her. But ever since she entered the novel world, she completely forgot about her real boyfriend. That explained why, when she saw Feng's face for the first time there, it felt so familiar. It was because the image of her boyfriend Feng had been printed on her heart like a passport photo in permanent ink. So even in the novel, she began seeing her boyfriend's face in Feng's character, but she can't remember his face. Whether it was dangerous or not was uncertain, but if she didn't wake up, her brain might shut down for forever. Her real boyfriend decided to enter her brain to save her. After that, real Feng entered the novel world. As soon Feng realized this, he jumped out of the car and rushed toward Wang Yi. Here, her house lights were off because of the terrible storm. Wang Yi was terrified after watching a horror movie. Feng hugged Wang Yi and told her he had finally come back to her. Seeing him, Wang Yi's happiness level skyrocketed. The real Feng went ahead and kissed Wang Yi on her forehead. But since she was now running a fever out of fear, Feng took care of her the entire night. When Wang Yi asked him why he came back despite his important meeting, Feng didn't answer her directly. Instead, he told Sony something cryptic and asked her to lie to Wang Yi, saying one day she would look into the mirror and remember everything. Feng didn't like how the novel world Feng's style and all those rings looked on his hand in the mirror, so he removed them and even changed his hairstyle. Then, while he was with Wang Yi in the washroom, he suddenly felt something strange, but the very next second he was completely fine. After Wang Yi left, he stared at the locket around his neck, the one he received before arriving here. Someone told him to only go offline if he felt genuinely threatened. As the next step in this emotional roller coaster, he made breakfast for Wang Yi. Wang Yi looked stunned, wondering how he knew her favorite food. Feng casually mentioned that he even knew she looked better without glasses. That surprised her even more. As she had worn glasses in the past, she went back to her room and thought about all these little clues. Just then, Feng came in and showed her a brooch that her grandfather once gave her. He explained that it contained a voice recording system. She was shocked because she wore that brooch the day she got kidnapped and was thrown into the water. When she played the recording, she heard her stepmother's voice and realized she was the one behind it all. Furious, she ran to her father and played him the recording. She confronted her stepmother and asked why she wanted to kill her. Her stepmother, looking caught, burst into tears. But when Wang Yi threatened to call the police, the stepmother instantly flipped her emotional switch. The woman suddenly declared that she was pregnant and said she would soon bring a baby boy into the family. Wang Yi's father lit up with joy because he always wanted a son. He told Wang Yi it wasn't right to send her mother to jail right now. Maybe she misunderstood something and he would look into it himself. He then took his wife away. Once they were gone, Wang Yi was fuming. She thought her father must have always wanted a son too, which was why he didn't stop her stepmother from leaving. She vowed that if it were up to her, she wouldn't have spared the woman. Feng tried to calm her down, hugged her, and reassured her that everything would be fine. Though Wang Yi was startled at first, she stepped away the next second, finally convinced that none of this was her fault. After that, the group went on vacation and enjoyed themselves. They played all sorts of games, cooked together, slept together. Wang Yi wore a swimsuit and the boys started staring, which made Feng visibly annoyed. But Wang Yi told him to stop being overdramatic and mind his own business. That night, Wang Yi's stepmother was enjoying her night with another man, her boyfriend. She told him not to worry, and soon she would get Wang Yi, her father, and her grandfather out of the way, then everything would be theirs and they would live a luxurious life. Their first targets were Wang Yi and her grandfather. She confidently declared that by tomorrow, both of them would be out of their path, and they began to execute their plan. The next day, while Wang Yi was hanging out with her friends, she received a call that her grandfather's condition was critical. She rushed to see him, only to find him perfectly fine. She hugged him, and he asked if she was all right. She replied gently, stayed for a while, and then left, so he could rest. Meanwhile, the stepmother was on another call, complaining that the old man was still alive, but now it was time to get rid of Wang Yi too. Wang Yi was in a car with her assistant when Feng called to ask where she was. She told him they were on Yuan Road. He suddenly remembered something from the story, realizing it was written that Wang Yi would meet with an accident there. He immediately called her back, but both her and the assistant's phones lost signal. Just when her car was about to crash, Feng's assistant arrived in the nick of time and pulled them out. They looked at the road and saw dangerous spikes and objects deliberately placed to cause a deadly accident. Wang Yi's assistant asked her to step aside while he examined the road. Later, Wang Yi asked Feng how he knew she was in danger. He replied that an angel sent him to save her, which left her completely confused and worried. Meanwhile, Feng, who was at the beach, suddenly fell ill. This happened because he changed something in the story's timeline. Later that night, he opened his eyes to find a doctor standing before him. The doctor scolded him for altering the story and warned that he might die if he kept doing it. Feng explained he couldn't stay quiet while someone tried to kill Wang Yi. The doctor warned him again to stop interfering and then vanished. Wang Yi came in and asked him why he looked so weak. He lied, saying he was just tired and fainted, but after seeing her, he felt better. She went out to get food for him. As Feng stepped outside, the same doctor reappeared and gave him medicine, telling him to rest again. Wang Yi saw her leave and started to piece things together in her mind. Later, Feng brought Wang Yi to a beautifully decorated place and proposed to her. She didn't answer at first because she believed that it's Lucy who had to get close to Feng. And Feng told her how important she was to him and how he wanted to change for her. She couldn't resist and accepted, and they shared a beautiful kiss. Right then, she received a call that her grandfather wasn't doing well. She rushed to the hospital, praying deeply for his recovery. She remembered the day her real father had passed away in the other world. That painful memory overwhelmed her even more. Well, Grandpa regained consciousness and saw Wang Yi sitting nearby. He seemed genuinely happy and healthy, and even asked Feng if it was true that his company was about to collapse. But Feng didn't respond, and he just said to take care. Grandfather even says that he had left a prize for Wang Yi. But she grew confused and wondered what kind of prize was being discussed. But Wang Yi simply said she wanted nothing except for him to get better. On hearing that, Grandpa started laughing. Wang Yi's assistant then took her aside and revealed that Grandpa's condition was quite serious and there weren't any chances of recovery left. Suddenly, Grandpa passed away, and Wang Yi screamed and cried loudly. In the night scene, she remained deeply disturbed. She didn't feel like returning home because Grandpa's memories kept haunting her. Feng tried to console Wang Yi, but she refused to listen and said that nothing in this world was happening according to her will. It was all going as per what the writer wrote. She expressed that the sorrow she was going through was beyond Feng's understanding. That's when Feng got extra emotional and confessed to Wang Yi that he was also from the real world, just like her, and could read the novel too. He revealed that in the next chapter his company would collapse. Wang Yi was shocked to learn that Feng also came from the real world and asked him to confirm it. He did, and then Wang Yi gave him a tight hug and declared that they would finish the story of the novel together and return to their world. Meanwhile, Wang Yi's stepmother was trying to impress her husband because she was planning to work in Grandpa's company. She also suggested sending Lucy there, but Lucy said she wanted to write the story instead and left. Then, according to the story, Feng's company had collapsed and the news was all over the media. A few angry employees came to Feng and said it was all his fault, so they didn't want to work for him anymore. Feng didn't argue and calmly signed the papers to end the deal. Just then, Chain entered and, after listening to her, it became clear that Feng had deliberately spread fake news about his company. His goal was to expose the traitors and scammers within the company. After everyone left, Wang Yi admitted she didn't know Feng was so intelligent because he looked stupid. But because Feng had once again made changes to the novel, his health started declining. He didn't let Wang Yi know about it and secretly took the medicine prescribed by the doctor. When Wang Yi returned home, Feng was in a deep sleep. Wang Yi wondered why he hadn't woken up yet. The reason was that he was undergoing treatment in the real world. Feng again received a lecture, asking him to stop making changes to the novel. After many hours, when he finally opened his eyes, Wang Yi was still sitting beside him. Feng was overjoyed to see her and kissed her, saying he always wanted to wake up to her face. As their assistants entered the room, in the rush, Wang Yi accidentally stepped on Feng's injured leg. Feng yelped in pain, like Tom getting hit with a frying pan. Later, Wang Yi apologized and asked where in the real world he was from. Feng tried to tell her his address, but according to novel rules, Wang Yi couldn't hear it, so she asked him to write it down, but she still couldn't see it, because personal information wasn't allowed to be shared. Next, Wang Yi was at her father's company, where everyone treated her with full respect. But she stopped them because she was technically their junior. When she sat at her seat, she met none other than the man who was having an affair with her stepmother. His name was Ko. Though he behaved very politely with Wang Yi, he didn't assign her any work. He didn't want her taking an interest in the company or coming to the office regularly to mess things up for him. But Wang Yi didn't stop coming to the office. Instead, she tried her best to help the people around, though they all thought she was clumsy and refused her help. Ironically, in her real world, Wang Yi was a master of all company operations. She asked Ko for a project, but he avoided giving her one and made excuses. So, Wang Yi decided to annoy him by saying she would clean the office until he gave her work. While cleaning, she purposely spilled water near Ko, and well, what could he do? He was left with no option but to assign her a project. So, Wang Yi began working hard on the project and even tried to build connections with her colleagues by offering them energy drinks. And co-workers finally started believing that she was genuinely nice. Later, when Wang Yi went shopping with Feng, she spotted her stepmother with none other than the project director Ko. Both she and Feng were stunned to see them kissing. No one had any idea about this affair. She recorded their meeting, but as they walked away, Wang Yi realized she had forgotten to switch on the camera to record them. Ko then called Wang Yi to his office and informed her that both she and Lucy were being given the Rich Girl and Feng Rich Girl Challenge, which would also be telecast on TV. This would help the company gain popularity. Wang Yi agreed and began the shoot the next day, but in an effort to look rich, she ended up overacting so much that everything seemed fake. Meanwhile, Lucy portrayed her real life and hard work genuinely. When it was time for Wang Yi's final shoot, she took the cameraman to a secret place and told the audience that the location was very special to her. As a kid, when she was lost and sad, she met a boy there who gave her his style and assured her she would soon find her parents. She admitted she had never forgotten that boy because he stayed with her the whole day in her worst moment and helped her search for her parents. She said she wished to meet him again. After that, Wang Yi went to her sister Lucy to watch her recorded video and felt that her own video was terrible in comparison. Lucy's video looked perfect because it showed nothing was fake. She wondered aloud if she should shoot it again, but when Lucy went to get coffee for her, Wang Yi sneakily found a recording on Lucy's laptop. It was of their stepmother talking to her boyfriend Ko. So naturally, Wang Yi began transferring the recording into her pen drive. Just then, Lucy entered and caught her red hand and asked what she was doing. Wang Yi said that the recording had played in front of her. She didn't do anything. Wang Yi asked Lucy if she didn't think all of it was wrong. Lucy admitted it was wrong and claimed she had been planning to tell their dad everything herself. And she did just that, telling her father the whole truth about her mother, which left the old man so shocked he could have starred in his own melodrama. Then their stepmother arrived, acting all sweet and loving toward her husband, as usual, but her husband wasn't buying the act anymore. He pushed her away and declared that he already knew everything about her affair, so there was no need for any more drama. His tone was the verbal equivalent of flipping a table. Hearing this, she was completely shaken and asked who told him such things. She tried to blame Wang Yi, saying she never wanted her and her baby to stay in the house. But Wang Yi denied everything. The stepmother then claimed the video must be Feng. But her confidence crumbled faster than a biscuit and tea when Lucy stood up and revealed that she was the one who told father the truth. She didn't want anyone else taking over the company their father had worked years to build. At this point, the stepmother smacked Lucy hard. But her father wasn't having it. He slapped the stepmother back and expressed disbelief that she could cheat on him after everything he'd done for her. Then he ordered for Ko to be brought in, and once Ko arrived, he questioned whether the baby was theirs. The stepmother quickly denied it, claiming the baby belonged to her husband. But her husband wasn't buying any of it. He was just about to unleash his belt when Lucy stepped in and yelled that mom was pregnant and they should at least do a test to confirm whose baby it really was. That calmed her father down a bit. After watching the full drama, Wang Yi said that finally the stepmother's truth had come out in front of everyone. meaning the story was reaching its climax. Lucy credited Wang Yi for helping her father. Wang Yi felt quite proud. But now, everyone started pointing fingers at Lucy that she may also be an illegitimate child. Meanwhile, Chain had just watched Lucy's interview where she revealed details about her secret place and the boy she met there. Chain was shocked because he was that very boy who had helped Lucy in her childhood. The flashback revealed that Lucy was lost when Chain had come to her, gave her a whistle, and encouraged her to find her parents. Then he left to help her find them. Chain told her he couldn't believe she was the same girl and wondered how he didn't recognize her earlier. Meanwhile, Wang Yi revealed to Feng she was searching for Jackson because she wanted to learn more about her mother. But Jackson himself showed up at Wang Yi's house, having found out that she was digging into his past. He told her he wanted to meet her anyway. Due to his many enemies, he explained, he rarely stayed in China, and he shared that her mother was a very close friend whose death pained him deeply. He, too, was looking for the real killer. Jackson handed over her mother's shares that he had been holding and asked her to sign a file to transfer them. Wang Yi signed it after reading, and when she asked who he suspected the most, he said he used to suspect her stepmother but couldn't say anything for sure now. Wang Yi began thinking deeply about this. Meanwhile, Chain was at the party too. When he saw Lucy was about to fall, he catches her making a beautiful, romantic moment. But just then people started gossiping. They said, like mother, like daughter, implying Lucy too was good at attracting rich boys. Hearing that nonsense, Lucy felt heartbroken, like someone had stepped on her soul. But Wang Yi gave those people a good verbal thrashing, asking them who gave them the right to question her sister's character. She told them off and chased them away, and they had no business judging her sister. Before Lucy left, she thanked Wang Yi for standing up for her. But as she stepped outside, her dress caused her trouble. So, in sheer frustration, she tore it apart. Seeing all this, Chain says that he didn't know Lucy could be so fiery and feisty. He then asks her to come along with him, and they both end up at the place where they met during childhood. Lucy, with a playful smirk, suggests that he must have seen her interview and brought her there to make fun of her. But when Chain ties the coat around her the way he did back then and says the same line he said when they were kids, Lucy is left absolutely shocked. She suddenly understands what it all means. It was him, the boy from her childhood, the one who gave her the whistle. Chan confirms it with a smile. And then, in a twist that surprises her even more, he proposes. He asks if she will walk with him this time so they can spend the rest of their lives together. Lucy, now overjoyed, responds with a yes, and both of them are beyond happy. Meanwhile, Wang Yi and Feng are together, as Wang Yi is giving Feng orders in a playful way. But suddenly they notice a new chapter in the novel. It's titled Marriage Proposal, and the plot seems to indicate that Chain is about to propose to Lucy officially. Wang Yi, thinking she knows exactly how the story will unfold, concludes that Lucy will say yes, and the happy ending will follow. After all, tomorrow's chapter is the final one and they can go home. With that, Wang Yi, in a mix of excitement and mischief, suggests they go on a date, since the chapter only lasts until tomorrow, and Feng, eager to make her happy, agrees. The next morning, Feng and Wang Yi go on their date. Wang Yi is thrilled, though her heart skips a beat when Feng gets too close. Her heartbeat suddenly sounds. At an event later, where Feng is showing off his new bridal dress collection, Lucy gets a call, brings Wang Yi to Feng. Feng shows her the most important dress, designed for the finale of his event. However, due to a stitching error, the model can't wear it, so he asks Wang Yi if she can step in. Wang Yi, for the sake of the event, agrees, but when she walks out in the dress, Feng suddenly proposes to her in front of everyone. Wang Yi is so shocked that she can't help but shout, "What on earth are you doing? This is not our story. We were supposed to be the side characters here. Now you're making a mess of everything." But Feng, not deterred by her outburst, explains that the writer wanted them to get the marriage proposal, not Chain and Lucy. Wang Yi, still in disbelief, finds it hard to believe him. Meanwhile, the writer of the story is trying everything to make Wang Yi say yes. When she refuses, the writer decides to stop writing the story altogether. That's when Wang Yi finally blurts out a no and faints, saying a line against the writer's plans. As a result, she gets stuck between the real world and the fictional one, watching the story unfold without being able to return to the novel. On the other side, Lucy, the original main character of the novel, wakes up in the hospital to find Feng next to her. Feng used to avoid her earlier, but now he was so close to her with an attractive figure. Feng got up and asked Wang Yi if she was okay. He apologized, saying he might have tortured her too much the previous day, which couldn't be the reason behind her condition, though he truly couldn't understand what was happening. He went to call the doctor, and after he left, Wang Yi asked the nurse to bring her sexy dress and makeup, insisting that she wanted them immediately. When the nurse didn't listen, Wang Yi shouted at her, asking if she wasn't able to understand what she was saying, and criticized the food for being terrible. Just then, Feng arrived, and Wang Yi suddenly calmed down and began eating silently, leaving the nurse shocked at her behavior. She also returned from the mall in her original getup and threw away the locket Feng gave her, saying it was nonsense and demanding a new one. Feng found her behavior very strange. Wang Yi became extremely happy when she saw Ye and asked why she returned from abroad without informing her. She told him she missed her a lot and asked who the timid-looking guy with her was. She then questioned what happened to the other 3 boyfriends who were always with her. Ye quickly went to Feng and asked why sister-in-law wasn't recognizing him. Hearing this, Wang Yi laughed and said she liked being called that. Ye then asked why she rejected Feng's proposal yesterday. This left Wang Yi shocked. She didn't know Feng had proposed and she rejected him. She approached Feng and apologized, surprising everyone, including Wang Yi's assistant. Later, when she returned home after shopping, her father asked how she was alone and where Feng was. She responded with confusion, asking what he meant. He explained that she wasn't living in her own home anymore. She had been staying with Feng all the time. Wang Yi was shocked to hear this. Back in her room, she noticed that all her dresses and makeup were different. She asked her assistant what was going on and whether her behavior was strange lately. At first, her assistant didn't understand, but when she explained that she lost her memory and wanted to know how her feelings toward Feng changed, he explained everything. He told her about the changes in her personality, how she started acting cute, wore light-colored dresses and jeans, and more. Listening to this, Wang Yi was stunned and realized that someone else had taken her place and was trying to steal Feng from her. She decided not to let that happen now that she was back. Real Wang Yi was now stuck between the real world and the fantasy world. Meanwhile, fantasy world Wang Yi started acting cute in front of him. She began copying her appearance and behavior, which made the real Wang Yi furious. When she again tried to get close to Feng, he found her behavior very strange. She kept trying to get close to him, so he walked away pretending to be her brother. Later, when they were at the beach together, the fantasy Wang Yi continued trying to flirt with Feng. He started feeling suspicious and wondered what was going on. She then asked him to propose to her again, saying she would give him all her shares if he agreed to marry her. Feng finally realized she wasn't his real Wang Yi. His Wang Yi gave away all her shares to the poor. He somehow managed to send her away and then ran toward the water, shouting the real Wang Yi's name, crying that he came there for her and she still left him alone. Hearing this, the real Wang Yi felt happy at first, realizing he finally recognized her, but then questioned why he was saying it like she had left him before too. Even Feng didn't know where his Wang Yi was. He cried as he recalled seeing her for the first time in the real world. The story then shifted to Wang Yi secretly loving Feng and used to watch him quietly. Feng, being popular in college, noticed this and slowly started liking her too. Eventually, they entered into a romantic relationship. Feng was the first to express his feelings. But after some time, they broke up over something. Wang Yi left in a car without looking back. Right after that, she met with that accident. Now, thinking about all this, Feng sat crying in the present. Wang Yi also cried deeply. At that moment, a portal opened and the real Wang Yi came back to the novel. Wang Yi hugged and kissed him. Now Wang Yi and Feng had returned home, where Wang Yi asked him why he was behaving as if he came into this world only because of her. She wondered who he really was. Did she know him from before? She said every time she tried to think about it, her head started hurting. But Feng comforted her, saying it was okay if she couldn't remember anything, and that she shouldn't stress too much over it. Later, Chain was brought Lucy to the hospital to meet her mother. Lucy went in first, but when she came back out, she was crying badly. Her mom was still angry with her too. To cheer Lucy up, Chain took her to different places. They both had a lot of fun and were very happy. That night, they visited the place where they had met in childhood, and Chain kissed Lucy while saying, "I love you." Meanwhile, Jackson sent Wang Yi to someone who had a locker containing evidence of her mother's murderer. She took the locker from that man and used the password Jackson had given her to open it. Just then, someone took her photos from a distance. It turned out to be her father's man. When the photos reached her father, the shocking truth was revealed. The person who killed her mother was none other than her own father. Her mother was very ambitious and had grown powerful, so her father killed her and took control of her company. Now he had his eyes on Wangi's company, which she had inherited before her grandfather could seize it. Wangi also recalled when Jackson had told her he suspected her father from the start. In the present, Wangi said they had to get her father arrested, but before taking any step, they should talk to Lucy, since Jackson said Lucy had also been investigating the matter. Who knows, maybe Lucky knew something important. Wangi met Lucy and told her everything, that her mother's killer was her father. Lucy was shocked and said that maybe her own mother also knew something about all this. Wangi told her to speak to her mom and take her to a safe place, while she and Fang would take the evidence to the police. Lucy agreed, but Lucy was very upset. Her mom had gone missing from the hospital. Just then, Chain told Lucy another shocking truth that he had discovered. Lucy's mother had suffered a miscarriage because the baby wasn't her father's. Lucy was devastated and immediately ran to search for her mom. Wangi had overheard everything and quickly messaged Fang saying they had to take strong action now. Lucy's mom's life was in danger. Wangi went with evidence to the police and helped get her father arrested. The evidence clearly proved he killed her mother. Upon hearing this, her father was stunned and asked how his own daughter could do this to him. But Wangi remained silent as the police took him away. Back home, Wangi and Fang, along with Cheng, celebrated the fact that they were nearing the end of their journey. Her mother's killer had been punished, and Lucky and Cheng were now in a relationship. They said the novel's story would soon come to an end, but then came news that her father had escaped from the police station with the help of his bodyguards. Fang noticed her dress level was too low and adjusted it. Then he lifted her dress slightly and teasingly told Wangi that only he had permission to look at her shoulders, no one else. They set out to capture her father, who had escaped with the help of his guards. So they all decided to split up and look for him. Fang and Wangi were the first to spot her father, but he ran away again. One of his bodyguards was chased by Ye, and she got into a fight with him. He injured her badly. Seeing this, her boyfriend, who had been hiding, came forward and attacked the guard, beating him up severely. For the first time, he showed such bravery. Just for her. Ye, deeply touched, kissed him. Meanwhile, father tried to escape again, but now he was surrounded from all sides. So, sitting down, her father requested to be taken home and fed first because he was extremely hungry. Hearing this, she was brought home by her father and was given food. But as soon as they stepped out of the house, father seized the opportunity, grabbed Wangi and held a knife to her neck, and threatened to kill her unless he was allowed to escape. In the chaos, he dragged her outside the house, where Feng rushed in dramatically and pleaded with him to leave Wangi alone and instead use him as leverage. Since Wangi was his daughter and the police would think he was just acting, her father surprisingly agreed and let Wangi go, then held Feng at knife point. At that moment, Lucy arrived and began screaming, demanding to know what happened to her mom and where she was. Her mom suddenly appeared, saved by Chain. Witnessing all this, her father began to rage, but just then, Feng caught him again and, with everyone's help, they all tied him up and decided to take him to the police station. Lucy's mother also insisted on coming along, as she wanted to reveal everything she knew about her husband. So everyone headed to the police station with him. Meanwhile, Lucy was extremely happy with Chain, as she had finally found her true love. Feng and Wangi were also overjoyed. Feng, in a sweetly awkward moment, told her that this was finally their happy ending and asked if he could kiss her. The moment they kissed, her magical locket started shining, but as fate would have it, it landed in Wangi's hands, and she fainted instantly. When Wangi finally opened her eyes in the real world and asked the doctor how she ended up there, the doctor calmly explained that she was in an accident and had slipped into a coma. Or, as he put it, she went on a novel vacation. Wangi thought all this sounded like a lie, mainly because she remembered nothing about living in the novel world. But soon she pretended to remember everything and thanked the doctor for taking care of her. The doctor advised her to rest and walked away. As soon as he left, Wangi got suspicious. Her trust level was now below zero, like a phone battery at 2%. She felt like she was kidnapped and something bad was going to happen, so she took the first chance and ran away from the hospital. Out on the street, she saw her cousin, a famous actor who once played Chan in the novel. He ran toward her and asked her to come with him. But of course, the media had to show up too. They thought Wang Yi was Chain's girlfriend and started following them like overly dramatic paparazzi. They somehow reached her cousin's home, and Wang Yi demanded to know why she was brought there. He told her his girlfriend, a famous novel writer, wanted to meet her. He showed Wang Yi a novel she had written. It turned out to be the exact novel Wang Yi had been a part of. Reading it jogged Wang Yi's memory, and everything came back to her. She remembered how Fang had entered the novel to help her when she had forgotten about her boyfriend, Fang, due to the accident. Feeling deeply moved, she rushed back to Fang, apologizing for not recognizing him earlier, how important he was to her and how much he loved her. Then we see the flashback of Wang Yi's accident, how Feng had brought her quickly to the hospital and how much he cared about her. Back in the present, when Wang Yi returned to the hospital, the doctor was initially angry at her disappearing act. But her emotional speech melted him faster than ice cream in summer, and he agreed to help. He informed her that Feng was fine but still in the novel world, as she had brought Feng's locket with her to the real world. So this time, he gave her 2 lockets and told her to return to the novel world. Upon returning, Wang Yi saw that the story had changed. This was now a new one. Feng stood there looking sad, and his assistants looked equally gloomy, probably wondering why their boss lived in permanent drama mode. Then Wang Yi appeared with the locket, and though Feng initially thought she was just a character, as soon as she kissed him in Feng's style, he realized she was truly his Wang Yi. Next, we saw Feng and Wang Yi opening their eyes together in the real world. Finally, they were both back. After that, we saw Lucy and Chain together, confirming they were also a couple in the real world, as well as Ye and Joe, who were also couples. Joe, who had appeared cowardly in the novel, turned out to be the complete opposite in real life, while Ye, who was carefree in the novel, was actually shy and innocent in the real world. They had all come because Lucy, the real writer of the novel, had invited them. Wang Yi was thrilled to see all the characters together in real life. Wang Yi realized that the reason everyone seemed so perfect in the story was that they were her real-life friends, which was why she included them. Lucy brought out her 2 dogs. Turns out, their names were the same as the assistants in the novel. Upon learning that they were named after dogs, Wang Yi and Feng burst out laughing harder. Later that night, Feng came to Wang Yi asking her to come with him. He acknowledged all the problems they had faced but promised their future would always be bright. He then asked her to be his wife in the real world too, to which Wang Yi happily agreed, and they sealed it with a kiss.